Hello and welcome to Todd Talk, where insight meets inspiration. I'm your host, Todd Hiller, and I'm an author, speaker, and longtime community leader, here to guide you on a journey towards fulfillment and balance. In every episode, we'll explore ways to fill life's emptiness, helping you uncover practical tools to create harmony, purpose, and happiness. Whether it's thriving in your career, nurturing personal growth, or simply finding joy in the everyday, Todd Talk is your space for real conversations and actionable advice. So let's thrive together, personally, professionally, and beyond. This is Todd Talk, and I'm thrilled to have you here. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Todd Talk. I hope that whatever you are doing today or have been doing, you find yourself in a place where you have some joy and some clarity, and you just have an overall good day. And if you're not having a good day, buckle up and tune in, because I think what I'm about to say might help you find a way to have a bit better of a day. So without further ado, let's dive right into the topic of today's episode, and that is that you don't have to have everything figured out all at once. You don't even have to have everything figured out to take the next step. Just take that one step and focus on something that brings you peace, that brings you clarity, or that brings you joy, and do that with intention. Because remember, progress doesn't need to be loud and in your face and happen all at once. It can happen gradually, and it can be the product of consistency, and that's really important to remember. If you're like me, there are days where the weight of all the unknowns can stop you right in your tracks from walking forward. But what I have learned, especially through being burned out and walking back from that and finding myself a way to recover, is that clarity often comes from the movement, not the standing still. And it's been said before, I've even said it in another episode, that the path kind of reveals itself once you start moving down through it and moving down across the path or through the path or whatever you want to call it. Sometimes you're not going to be able to see it right away. You have to start that forward motion to figure out where you're going to go. And I've had my fair share of unknowns. I've had my fair share of to-do lists that got overwhelming, and I think, my God, I don't know what I'm going to do because I have to do this, but I don't know about this, and I have to do that, and I don't know about that, and I have things that I just don't know where to go from here because I don't know all the information I need, but I don't know who to get it from, and it's just, you spin yourself in circles and end up feeling really kind of twisted up and burned out and washed out and depleted because you're looking for all these things to try to happen all at once, and you have to remember that you can do things little by little. I know right now it's July, and some people are like, oh, man, I'm in this mid-year slump. You know, half the year's gone by. I haven't done my New Year's resolutions. I'm worried about actually getting anywhere. My burnout is creeping in. I feel like I'm just so worn out and fatigued from making so many decisions day after day and week after week because it's been nonstop things. You know, some of us are planners, and we feel the need now. It's July. Oh, God, we have to have the rest of the year planned out. We have to get the calendar out. We have to plan July, August, September, October, November, all the way through Christmas. We have to get vacations planned and holidays figured out and figure out where we're going for Christmas and where we're going for Thanksgiving, even though that's months away. So don't get too wrapped up in that pressure to figure everything out all at the same time, especially if it's something like the rest of the year. And listen, I have always used the analogy that my brain a lot of times feels like a browser tab, or a browser with 37 tabs open. You know, 3 of them are playing music, and, you know, one of them has the hamster dance website up on repeat. And when that happens, it's like we can never find the correct tab. We can never find what we're looking for. And trust me, I have been there before. But one beautiful thing, lots of beautiful things have happened to me since I've walked away from all my overtaxing obligations that I was no longer interested in and that were just draining me. Lots of things have been changed in my life. Lots of things have been different. I have changed the way I show up for some events and some organizations and some people by allowing myself to show up for them fully and with the ability to be there and be present, because I've taken away all the things in my life that have just sucked the energy and the life out of me and never actually done anything to bring me joy or fill me back up. And I've talked about this in a different episode, too. A good friend of mine and I were talking about my brain with the 37 browser tabs open. And they said, I don't think that your brain – and because I said, for the first time in a long time, my brain doesn't feel like that anymore. And I said, I guess it's because maybe I'm not busy anymore. And they said, well, I don't think it's that you're not busy because you still do a lot of stuff. But they said, I think it's because you are at peace now and you have this beautiful sense of peace in your life because you are enjoying – the things you spend your time on, and you are enjoying doing what you do, and you're not being drained and depleted by all the things in your life. You're being filled back up, and you're really enjoying them. So you can still have a busy life, and your brain can still think about lots of things, but you don't have that feeling of overwhelm where it's like that 37 browser tabs and you can't find anything you're looking for despite how hard you try. So here's what I want to remind you. As July hits, and as July rounds out, we're past the 4th of July weekend, or this is 4th of July weekend technically. And so I want to remind you to remember that you don't need the whole plan. You just need a place to begin. And you can take little steps. You don't have to run the entire marathon in one giant leap. You don't take all 26 miles and just launch yourself forward and you win the race or run the race in one step. You have to take a whole bunch of steps. You have to take lots of different strides along the way to get yourself where you want to be. So don't worry about having the entire plan mapped out, start to finish, all the way until, either the 1st of January or even the next year or whatever it is. Give yourself permission to take a break and just say, hey, here's what I can focus on right now. Here's what's up and coming in the next week or the next month, and we're going to tackle those. And we're going to do great things, and we're going to hit the ground running, and we'll be okay. And know that you can do those things little by little, and you don't have to have everything happen all at the same time. Progress, I have found, is more often built through momentum than mastery, because anytime we start doing something, no one is perfect at it the first time out. No one is perfect at it right away, so you have to just keep being consistent and keep going. So don't worry too much about being perfect at everything you do. Just know that you have a starting place, a place to begin, and then find a way to walk through that and get yourself to a place where you're feeling like you're taking some good steps and you're making some good progress and things are moving along the way. And I've said this before, too. I talk a lot about burnout. If you're new to this, I talk a lot about burnout and resiliency and mental wellness and kind of walking yourself back to a place where you can feel happy and peaceful with your life and what you spend your time on. But if you're not new here, you know that I've talked about before that, burnout thrives in overwhelm. And, resilience, it kind of thrives in focus. If you can say, hey, I'm going to take these focused steps and get myself going the way I need to be, then you can get yourself pretty far down the road of happiness, pretty far down the road of productivity, and pretty far down the road of completing the goals or the tasks you want to complete without the overwhelm of, oh my God, I have all these things to do, but I don't know where to do them. I don't know how to do them or where to start. You can have to have one place to start and have a beginning, and then start moving forward and taking those little steps. Just be consistent. Don't worry about having everything figured out and taking one massive leap. All right, so you're probably sitting there and you're thinking, well, okay, Todd, that's great advice, but how do I do that? I need the actionable part now, please, and thank you, Hiller. So here's what I want to encourage you to do. Look, if you have something on your plate or something on your calendar up and coming that's looming and you feel this giant sense of dread about it, say no to something that drains you. Say no to something that you really don't want to do. I have said before that, resentment is an awful thing, because if you agree to do something you don't want to do, you resent it immediately, and then you dread the event going forward. And even if it hasn't happened yet, you're just like, oh, man, I don't want to go to this thing at all. I can't believe I said yes to this event or yes to this person. I have no interest in that. So don't do that. Find one thing you can say no to, and just, something that drains you. Don't say, hey, no, I don't want to work today, if your boss is relying on you. But listen, that's also something you can do. I'm not telling you to quit your job or leave your job or call in sick when you're not actually sick. But if you need to take a day off, take a day off. If you need a mental break, take a mental break. If you need to say no to something that drains you, and that something is a person or a place or an event in your life that's up and coming, say no. Hey, I'm sorry, I can't make this event. Hey, something came up at the last minute. I'm sorry, I can't help do X, Y, or Z. It's okay to say no to some things, especially if they're wearing you out and leaving you just with this giant sense of dread. Another thing you can do, another step, go for a walk without your phone. The other morning, my daughter was like, hey, you want to go for a walk or a run? And I was like, sure. My daughter and I went for a run, and it was a short one. It was about 20 minutes, but it was just 20 minutes of just being outside in beautiful air and beautiful weather with no distractions. And it was just, it brought me a lot of clarity and just a lot of peace to my brain. And it helps slow my entire pace of my thoughts down and let me just think a little more slowly, a little more clearly. And it was just super helpful. Another thing that I've always encouraged people to do is you can write them down if you want to, or just say them out loud. Say out loud or write down 3 things you're grateful for. I do this every day. I say out loud what I'm thankful for, and it's a long list, believe me. And the more you start saying or writing down the things you're thankful for, the more you're going to discover, gosh, I guess there's a lot longer list than I thought. Because sometimes we think, oh, well, everything's going wrong in the world, or everything's going bad in the world, or I have so much to do, I'm so overwhelmed, I'm so burned out, I'm so tired, I'm so depleted. I get it, I've been there. Exhaustion creeps in, there's nothing good in the world, everything's bad. But listen, take the time to say out loud or write down 3 things you're grateful for. And I promise from those 3 things will come at least 3 more. And usually by the time my list ends, it's like 40 or 50 things deep. And I'm like, all right, got to get back to what I was doing, because I've just been sitting here talking out loud about how thankful I am for all the people and all the things I have in my life to be grateful for. Because a lot of times I think we move away from gratefulness and we move away from thankfulness because we get overwhelmed by the other stuff. And then I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It happens to everybody. Like, don't think you're doing something wrong if you are feeling overwhelmed or you're feeling like all you can see or hear is a negative. Negativity's loud. But write down or take the time to say out loud at least those 3 things you're grateful for. And listen, they don't have to be grandiose. They don't have to be, oh, I'm so thankful that tomorrow I get to go, meet the princess of Dubai. Like, it's not, we're not talking about this grandiose list. If that's something you get to do, awesome. But if you have clean water, if you have a quiet place to sleep, if you have a safe place to sleep, a safe place to raise your children, if you have a job, if you have a vehicle that gets you from point A to point B, if you have family you can talk to, if you have access to clean water, a cell phone, and some type of news outlet. I mean, these are all things that we take for granted, but say them out loud. Write them down and be truly thankful for them, and more things will come from that. I promise it'll help change your mindset. Also, I've always said we're nothing but big houseplants, so go outside, get some sunshine, and make sure you drink a couple big glasses of water. You will feel better, I promise. It sounds so simple. People are like, oh, I don't like the taste of water. I don't care if you don't like the taste of water. Drink it anyway. It's good for you. All right? And then another thing I love to do is just tell someone you appreciate them. Send a quick text or a quick email or a quick phone call or whatever it is, just to tell someone, hey, you know what? I appreciate you. I'm so grateful for you. I'm so thankful for you. Was thinking about you this morning, thinking about all the things that you and I have in common or the things you and I have talked about or our friendship or our relationship or whatever it is. I don't care who it is. It can be your best friend, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your significant other, your husband, your wife, it can be your babysitter. And just say, hey, you know what? I appreciate you so much. You're always willing to come through for us. You come through at the last minute. Thanks very much for always showing up to watch the kids. I know you only live 4 houses down, but you're always there for us. Whoever it is, send that text, because that helps you bring yourself around to a place where you're focusing on being grateful and appreciating things, and that will keep your brain focused on the good things rather than kind of just always diving down that path of negativity. And all these things, too, will help your brain lead down a path of thinking more clearly. And, clarity doesn't come from thinking harder. I don't think you can, concentrate and focus and I'm going to think my way to clarity. I think clarity comes from doing something, even if it's something small, with intention. So when you intentionally do things and you give yourself tasks and things to do, and you say, hey, my intention is to do this. I'm going to do this on purpose. When you do that, I think clarity starts to walk itself out of that and bring itself about from that, because it's something really important to you. And when you start focusing on it and giving yourself that space where you can do that one little thing, which turns into 2 little things, which turns into 3 and 4 and even more, then out of that, you're like, wow, now that I've done this, I want to do this. And you know what? That reminds me, I was doing this, and I think I want to get back to this. And this is a great idea I had. I'm going to write it down for later. And now it's super clear to me what I want to do. So start with those little things. They don't have to be huge, but do them with intention. And when you do them intentionally and put your mind to work to do them, you don't have to think harder about the clarity and how to get to it. Just think critically about how you'd like to do that thing or those things intentionally, and I think clarity will kind of wash right out of that. And if you've been sticking around with me for a while, you know that, I have ended up super burned out in my life with too many commitments. I made a list one day for a talk I was working on, and I numbered them. And so I had 12 numbered things in my life that I had to do: commitments, obligations, groups, volunteer opportunities, community boards, town committees, all these kind of things. On it, I didn't even put being a parent on it. Didn't even put things like being a homeowner and having to, mow my lawn and keep my own house up and running. And I didn't put my day job on it. 12 things that people needed my time for. They needed things from me. And here's the crazy thing. So I obviously felt very burned out. It's when I went down this very deep dive rabbit hole of figuring out, man, dude, you're in rough shape when it comes to burnout. But at the time, I didn't know what the big solution was. I didn't know what the big picture fix was that was going to happen all these days or weeks or months down the road. I didn't have that. But what I did have was knowing that something had to go. So we just talked about, right, clarity doesn't come from thinking harder. It comes from doing something, however small, with intention. So the thing I did intentionally was I resigned from 2 different things. And when that happened, my plate got less full, and I felt this little sigh of relief, and my shoulders got a little lighter, and I said, wow, that felt really good. I'm so much more at peace that I don't have to worry about all this stuff right now. It felt good to do that. And so I did those things with intention. But here's the tricky part, is that didn't fix everything. I didn't have the big picture yet. I didn't know that you're going to have to do those two things, and then you're also going to have to do these two things and these two things and rearrange these two things. I didn't have that yet. I didn't have the big picture. I didn't know what the big solution was. I had those small steps, so I took that first one, and it felt pretty good. And when things realigned, I said, this feels right, and my life feels better, and it feels more peaceful, so that's okay. I think I can take another small step. So I took another small step, and that felt pretty good, and that felt right. And I said, okay, that feels good, and things are still going the way I want them to, and I still feel peaceful. That's good. And from that, guess what came out of that one? That's right, another small step. So all these small steps that I did intentionally, they were what pushed themselves into this big, giant ball, so to speak, that rolled itself out into the big picture and into the big solution and the overall plan. But I didn't know that ahead of time. I didn't have this omniscient ability to just look forward and say, okay, here's what your life needs to look like 1 year from now, and I promise you will feel so much better, like you can breathe easier, you'll be so much happier, you'll have so much more free time, you'll be so much more at peace, your relationship with your kids will be better, your relationship with your job will be better, you will sleep better at night. I mean, these are all legit things that have happened to me, but I didn't know that a year ago. I didn't have that big picture, that big solution. What I did was I took one small step with intention. And once I figured out, hey, that was good and that felt okay and that feels great, we're on the right track here, I took another one. And when you take those small steps, what it also does is it helps shift your mindset and your energy to realize that better things are possible. Because, look, there was a point in my life a year or a year and a half ago where I thought, listen, it's always going to be this way. You're just always going to be this busy, and this is the way things are going to be, and you'll be okay. Just keep figuring out ways to deal with it. But that doesn't have to be the case. You can be so different. But you have to get your mindset to shift and allow yourself to believe that. Because then when you believe that and when you understand things can change, at that point you can say, hey, now I'm fully walking into where I need to be. I'm taking these little steps with intention, and gosh, it feels good, and get your mindset focused on doing more of that and chasing that peace instead of just resolving yourself to saying, oh, it's always going to be like this. I have no choice. And you know, this sometimes as I'm speaking, things kind of just pop into my brain, and so forgive me if I have to fumble through this idea because it's right fresh from the tip of my tongue and in my brain. But you know, the day I realized I didn't have to fix everything, so to speak, and that I just had to move myself to a different space and a different place, that was the day things started to change. Because I like that. Okay, so the day I realized I didn't have to fix everything, I just had to move. Yeah, I like that. Was the day everything started to change. Yeah, and that's beautiful because so I am a fixer. I am a helper. When someone says, hey, I have this problem, I always want to say, okay, well, try doing this, 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 and this. And sometimes I forget that people just want other people to listen. And I've had to remind myself constantly over the years that, hey, sometimes they don't want your solution, Todd. They just want you to listen, and they just want you to be an ear for them, and they want to get things off their chest, and that's fine. But I have to remind myself of that because I'm a fixer, and I want to help, and I always want to do. I've always done that in my life and my community. I've always been the guy doing stuff to fix things or to help people. But it was a huge moment for me when I realized I didn't have to fix everything. I just had to move myself to a new place and a new space and a new mindset, and that would bring about so much change, so much positive change, and so much beautiful, beautiful peace. And it's been a great journey. All right, so we're going to end this with a call to action. Here's what I want you to do. I'm going to ask you, my wonderful listeners, pause and reflect for me. What is one thing you can do today that would bring you even 1% more peace or 1% more clarity or joy is a big one, into your life? And don't overthink it. And if you need a lesson on overthinking, I am an overthinker through and through. A great friend who reminds me this all the time. Don't overthink it, Hiller. Just go ahead. You'll be okay. And just take the time to take the action intentionally, right? Maybe it's a phone call. Maybe it's setting a boundary with people. Maybe it's just putting your phone down and taking 3 deep breaths, taking a walk for 5 minutes, taking a walk for 10 minutes. All of that counts. Take one small step today to bring yourself more joy or more peace, okay? And do that, and that will lead you to the next step. And listen, you don't need the whole staircase. Remember this beautiful quote? You don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to see the next step. And that's what you take, and that's what you do. And please remember, you're not alone in this journey. You have this podcast you can listen to at your whenever you want to. I have videos on social media about this as a resource. There are other people in your life who want to help you, who want to work through this with you. I promise the people are out there to listen. You just sometimes have to find them. All right, my friends, as we wind down, I want to leave you with something, with the idea that you are allowed to take a breath before a breakthrough. And sometimes that's where the healing needs to start, and that's where the positive change needs to start. So be well today. Good luck walking towards your peace. Find that one thing to do today, that one small change to make, that one small step to take. Say out loud what you're grateful for. Have a couple big glasses of water. Go outside, get some sunshine, go for a walk. And as always, thank you so much for being here with me. I really hope this message has helped you today, tomorrow, and in many days to come. If you feel it will help someone else in your life, please feel free to share it with them. And as always, I appreciate you more than I can say. Thanks very much. Thanks for tuning in to Todd Talk. If you've liked what you've heard, please go ahead and subscribe and follow along so you don't miss any updates or new episodes. Thanks very much and enjoy the rest of your day.